Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Today's kind of a weird forecasting day. It's like 127. The sun came out a little bit today, but it's cloudy, and there's a weather warning that there's going to be high-speed winds in a couple hours. So, very interesting times. Let's see here. And yeah, it's 72 degrees. So it's still pretty warm, but I'm kind of curious of what's coming up because the air feels slightly cold, like before it starts to rain or whatever. Very interesting. You can see they're working out there, but it's kind of like well, you kind of know if you kind of got gray clouds and stuff. What else did I want to say? I wanted to say something else. Can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, did I mention the neighbors are home? Maybe I'll take a quick walk. Yeah, it's about 1:30. Maybe I'll take a quick walk and see. I don't know. I didn't really take a break this week, I don't think, of last week. My walks. Usually I take a day off, but I was just kind of being hyper on this roll where I just didn't want to sit. And even if my walk was just to go down to the one end of the school and back instead of doing the whole loop or whatever, that was fine with me. There's some kind of interesting energy, but it hasn't drained me out. I mean, I don't feel my legs feel a little sore, but it's a different type of feeling because usually, after a week's work and I take a day off, my legs are really sore and I get cramps, and I always know that it's going to happen. So, I always have CBD oil to get through that moment. But for the last couple of months now that I think about it, since June, my legs haven't really felt that sore. A little bit sore, but it's different because I noticed it's different. It doesn't really bother me so much at night anymore, as much as it used to. So I noticed there's a change there. Of course, I noticed there's a change in my hair color too. But anyway, I put up the video this morning about the comforter, and the post that I put on Facebook, my high school friend, she's making comments like, what the comforter is she's asking me questions. Is the comforter the Holy Spirit? And I really don't know if I worded that because I don't want them to ask me. I want them to seek it out of God. I want them to incorporate that in their prayers, in their teachings of what they're learning. And so she wrote me back again because I was telling her, I was like, well, get with God, so I'm trying to give her that feedback. And she goes, well, my comforters. So it's really interesting because she quickly goes, well, my comforters are my family. My daughter, my mother, my daughter, my father and stuff like that. But Jesus says in there, nevertheless, I must go so I can send the comforter to you. Well, we've always had families. Even when Jesus is around, everybody had their families and their offspring and stuff like that. So that's not the comforter that, that's written in scripture. But it's quite interesting where, I guess what I'm trying to say is that's as far as she's going to look. It's her family's her comforter, So, but again, to you all, it's not that I want you to ask me who the comforter is or what the comforter is for the individual to ask God. Get with God in your AI system, get with God in your your body, within your prayers and your talkings. When you're out in the walking, or in you don't have to speak out. You in your mind. How else do I say? It's like when you're walking in the store or something, or driving, or when there's other people around you, you're talking with these thoughts in your mind, like, oh my gosh. Either if you're like going, what a goopball, or whatever, you're still talking in your mind. But you could do that with, by talking to God and say, oh, Father, what is going on here? Because it's all connecting to the AI, in your heart. And of course, we like to talk a lot, through our thoughts and everything. But again, we got to make sure that we're connecting to our heart while we're thinking these thoughts, and make sure they're good, because, you can turn a heart too as negative, and you can turn a heart positive. That's why the Israel, the staff goes right down. It controls everything. It controls our mind's eye. It controls all three brains. It controls what we feel, sense, see, speak. So like throwing stones, so you got the parables, right? When we throw stones are like words. Um, that type of situation. Then when you get down to your gut, you're thinking from your gut, your solar plexus, and it's all connected, right? So it's just one big connection. So if this gets mad, if starts taking over, then the whole system. And that's why they say your thoughts are what creates your illness. It's your thoughts that can heal you. Just like this guy Magician's online yesterday. He's an older guy, and I think he's back from the 70s and 80s, and he's disproving people that say, oh, I've got psychic powers. So he puts them on national television, live television, in these big audiences. And, and usually the psychic come on and he's all dressed up like some type of Superman or whatever. And so he goes down there and he blows, and he's like using his hands, and he's to move the paper off on this page, right? Well, the guy that's watching him, that's gonna solve the trick, he comes out there and he goes, well, what he's doing is he's blowing on the paper. So when he moves his hands, he's blowing the paper over. And then he shows a demonstration with the pencil, which a pencil is a lot heavier than the paper itself, the page of the book paper. And then he goes, we'll let him do it again, but we'll give him, I think he offered the guy $10,000 if he can turn that page. And then, but there's stipulations to prove that he's not blowing on it, because the psychic goes, oh, I'm not blowing on it. He goes, okay, we'll prove that. And so they took shavings of paper all around the front of the book to where he goes to try to move the paper over, right? And so the guy gets down there and, and he's aiming, he tried to get it, and he goes, well, he doesn't even try. He's acting like he's trying, and he stops. He goes, well, I can't do it because of the lighting up above is electrifying the pieces of paper that are all around the book. So he's making up all these excuses, right? And then the judges panel said, well, that's not possible. There's no electric coming off that scraps the paper around the book, and there's no connection to the light that's way up on the ceiling in the state, in this big stage room, concert room. And so anyway, it goes, I just approved, because the guy, in other words, they proved the guy's a phony right in front of everybody. And then they did it to this other couple, these other two psychic older women's, right, acting like they can tell anything that they put in her hand, and she has her left hand raised, and she, puts the item in this hand, and she's got her eyes closed, and her friend pushes down on the arm, and either the arm will stay solid if it's true, and it will go down if it's false. And so the guy, that same guy, he comes out and he's got all these little He goes, I want you to find the diamond in these little things. So they're just like little velvet baggies. And he's got 7 of them. And so he's putting one in her hand, and they do the arm trick. And so so she said all 6, one was good, right? So they put one on the good side, that was the crystal. And so they go and at the end, so they go and unravel it. And it was just, what was it? A bar of soap. So it was soap cut up into a shape of a diamond. Actually, there was 4 that were shaped like a blue kind of soap, and then 2 of them were in the shape of a diamond, but they were cyanide. It was cyanide formed in a shape of a diamond, and then the actual diamond. So she put no for the actual diamond, and the one that she picked was some type of soap bar or whatever. So in other words, it proved, he proved to be honest, even, kind of made the girls were just laughing, they're probably embarrassed. They didn't know what else to do, these women. But it goes to show you that you can't tell something in your hand, and you can tell the people. It's like the false teachers, the false preachers. Those are out making money writing books. And I see this online right now because, especially with this big uproar, everybody's like promoting, going onto all these sites, from one site to the next site, and all they're doing is promoting their books. And they're talking about the end times. So they're trying to sell something. They're promoting something. And remember, books, when there's books, there's fluff in books. There's stretching out the truth in books. There's fillers. Like the word "like" is a filler word. So there's a lot of fillers in there to make it a book, to make it a novel, to make it a reading material, eye-catching or whatever. That's why when you open up a book, you got one blank page, you got another page that says dedicated to such and such, and then it goes to another page. So it's just like it's like filling up a book. But again, it's just a lot of fluff. Kind of learned that I learned that in college through a writing class. But anyway, it's really quite interesting if we don't look at our surroundings, if we can't figure out if we're being tricked, what's being masked. Are they really telling the truth, or are they there to sell the product, to sell their word, their perspective of what they see? Because they can't sell anything that's actually true or being happening without being sued in this world, or saying that somebody said somebody and put that in the book, because especially if they're alive, because they can sue them for that and say that's your word against my word. So again, it's all kind of like speculation. So that's why we got to be our own private eyes, own Sherlock Holmes and Watsons, right? Watson had the pistol. Sherlock had the umbrella. The umbrella is Jewish. For the Jew, King David, Mary Poppins. And then, as I discovered yesterday, if you take pyramid backwards, write it backwards, it's D-I-M-A-R-Y-P. So D-I means double or twice, or 2 atoms, and then Mary P, Mary Poppins, right? Okay. So Mary Poppins is the pyramid. And then you got Popeye, which Popeye is father's eye. So that's interesting. So Mary is the pyramid, and then father's eye is the eye on the pyramid. And I bet your sun is the sun that beams out of the pyramid. See, we learn stuff by drawing it, describing it, teaching it, showing it. This is why I would say the church This is why I'd like to see any church out there, get a big drawing board, get a big whiteboard, get a chalkboard, uh, give people paper in church for, in their hour, have like these desks there. So instead of going and kneeling to, bowing down and kneeling to, these statues and these gods and these buildings, when our body is the clay art that called the Ba, that Ba, B-A, Ba, is a clay statue or a body uh, that a soul or a god um, dwells in, right? So Ab is the soul, A-B, and then Ba is the body, Abba, Abba. It's kind of like a child when a child goes, Abba, 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 Abba. Kind of interesting, right? The children are probably calling out to Abba.